I'm appalled at what you said on that pod thing. It's disgusting.
This is the After the Show podcast. It's where we get honest and real with yo ass. So sit back, relax, have a blast, because it's time for the After the Show podcast.
Yeah, hello and welcome to the KVJ After the Show podcast. Happy little Monday. Bird is finally doing something that we do all the time. He's taking a little day for himself. So typically he's off when everybody else is. But he said, I'm going to take a day today.
Good for him.
Go for it, big guy. Enjoy yourself. Well deserved.
Take a day.
Yep. So he made a little 3-day weekend out of it. He will be back with us tomorrow here on the show. And boy, there could be something that he would love to see right when he comes back in. I don't know how you feel about this, and we'll let the audience maybe decide here in a second. But, Virginia, one of the top amount of emails that we received since the show on Friday is calling into question the No Name Movie Game.
No, what happened?
Emails from Michelle, Craig, making a case, Angela.
Oh, no.
And it says, on Friday's No Name Movie Game, for Virginia's second movie answer, it was the line between the U.S. and Mexico, and I guess the answer is supposed to be borderline. Did she use the word? Because it's the No Name Movie Game by using the word line and the clue for borderline. And Craig is saying Jaybird won outright without needing the overtime.
Wow.
Should have been penalized.
Oh, I'll penalize him.
Okay. Yeah, State Girl Angela says the same. So I will throw it out there and see what the people think.
I think we have to look back and listen to it.
Yeah, I mean, it's part of the word. Line is in it. And that could be it. I guess I will have Denny's, confirm. But there were, like I said, at least 3 emails saying that you did use the word line in your clue for the movie Borderline.
But borderline is one word.
It is. But it would be like maybe, you have catfish is in it. And you say, okay, it's kind of like a cat thing, but it swims in the water. And it'd be a catfish. You'd be like, yeah.
Well, if you were doing catfish, you could say fish.
You could say fish, but you can't say cat because cat's actually in it.
But fish is in catfish.
Okay, it was a terrible example. You're right. Terrible example. But using part of the word that is an elongated part of the word.
Fish is the same as line. In this argument, then you would not be able to say fish if the movie was catfish.
Again, terrible example.
Because line is in borderline, but it's a different word. I mean, this needs to be a poll.
Okay. I will ask, should Virginia lose the point? What do you think if using part of the actual word or half of it, like borderline, would that mean that you can't use the word line then in a clue?
Or like in catfish, you can't use the word fish.
Yeah, we have to get rid of that because that was a terrible example. It's just
I think it's a great
waters.
example. It proves my point that you can use it.
Okay. All right. Well, the voting has begun. Should Virginia lose the point? We'll see what people say. And that would do a reversal of the win from Friday on the No Name Movie Game. And I guess it would establish new ground rules as well, because I don't know if we've ever had that. We've had things. I remember one time, I think I was even the one that cheated the system, and I'm the reason for the rule when it came to giving clues in Spanish.
Yes.
And you can't do that part of it. So that's one of those. I don't say that every time, but that's kind of one of the bylaws, the underlying rules of the No Name Movie Game, other than you can't use any of the characters' names, actors' names, or any of the words from the title of the movie. This could be another addendum and bylaw. And one of those, too, is that you don't have to say the article in the movie title, like the and all that stuff. Okay, so we'll see how that goes right now. Okay, it is very lopsided.
Tricky.
It is very tricky. Something else I got a couple emails about, too. We were talking about when you were petty. And people that were, it was a plumber that came out and reclogged a restaurant's pipes because they had not in a timely fashion been paying their bills. And it is kind of petty, but at the same time, it got them their money. And that really kind of opened up a couple of emails here, because I guess there are a lot of people that might be in that industry, not just plumbing, but, where you're doing projects for people that you have to collect the money.
Sure.
And they may not want to pay. And Anastasia said, yeah, my best friend's husband is a window installer, and they live in Toronto, Canada. He had a client who paid the deposit, and the agreement was full payment upon completion of the work. Well, at the end of the day, when all the work was done, the client refused to pay, saying, yeah, you know what, unfortunately, I just don't have the money. So my friend's husband removed one of the windows and left, and it was in the middle of winter, and the temperatures were well below freezing. The client paid in full the very next morning.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what the law would say, but I think you'd have to take it to small claims court, and it would probably take forever, and you'd probably be battling it out.
Well, then I think at that point, you'd be suing each other.
Right.
Because you would be suing them trying to get the payment that they owe you, and I guess you'd be suing them to try to get the
damage from the clogged pipe that they came in and clogged, or the window that they took.
Right.
It's just...
Yeah, but look, there's a part of me I think that's pretty dang genius, because I can imagine you, as a contractor, probably face this a lot, where people are complaining or withholding money and trying to say you didn't do something right. I've unfortunately seen too many asshats do that, where they are just trying to scam somebody.
Yes.
And they're trying to make a fuss about something over nothing,
That is real.
simply to try to get something for free.
People are cheap, Kevin.
Stephanie said, I work in the construction industry, and I have so many stories of people doing petty things. One is a roofing company I know of that put a roof on a commercial building, and they didn't make the final payment, so the owner paid a group of guys to go in the middle of the night and rip off the entire roof.
Whoa.
Damn. And another company where a homeowner in Boca didn't want to pay their final bill for some reason, and the owner of the company would put rats in his mailbox and on his front door. But the best was he and my ex went fishing one night, caught a shark, and they took the shark to the guy's house, gutted it, and put it in his driveway behind his car, guts out and all.
Oh, my gosh.
This went on for several years. They just kept going, harassing the guy. Wow. Anna said, yeah, a lot of times what happens is you can put a lien on somebody's house doing something like this.
Okay.
How about that?
But that just seems like a lot of paperwork.
Yeah, it might be. But, so what would you rather do? Would you rather do something petty or try to take it through the courts and put a lien on them and all that kind of stuff, which I guess technically might be the right way?
Petty.
You're going petty.
Petty's just easier.
You're going petty all day long.
Quicker.
I knew the answer to that.
I had a girl remind me over the weekend of something petty I did. She was in the car with me, and somebody in the parking lot had cut us off and done something really rude and been a total jerk. And then Rocco was little at the time. He was in a stroller, so I had baby food on me. She was like, remember, you went and put baby food under his door handle so that when he went and grabbed it, it would just go with baby food. I was like, oh, yeah, I did do that. I'm proud of that. I forgot I even did it.
Queen Petty over here. She knows all about it. You could write a book, Virginia.
I could if I could just remember everything I've done.
Yeah, right. You just
That's
need to
the
remind
problem.
Well, I got an email here about the medical card. It says, Kev, not sure if you have received your medical marijuana card yet, but I decided to finally get mine yesterday. It is very simple, and the whole process only took 2 hours from booking the appointment to purchasing items in the dispensary. I'm providing the link to the company that I use, which has very good reviews. All I did was select an appointment time that incidentally was an hour long, and then I received some forms that I had to fill out online. They called me 5 minutes before my appointment time, and the doctor spoke with me for a few minutes and told me what to expect moving forward. And in a few minutes, I received the emails that would prompt me to complete the process. An hour later, I was at the dispensary purchasing my gummies and tinctures with my temporary card online, so you don't have to print it. So with your busy schedule, you wouldn't even have to leave your house to get the card. Cost was only $150 with the appointment, $75 for the card.
Okay.
TL, our biggest fan in Orlando. No, that's good to know. Honestly, I imagine one of these days I will, because I didn't know where I was going to be because I was not in the marijuana game at
You didn't
all.
know where you were going to be, but you do know a guy named Denny's.
Yes.
And you're
Very
good.
efficient. Yeah.
You're set.
I feel like I'm doing okay. Yeah. And you know what? And that was it, too. Somebody that knows their way around this stuff to kind of guide me through it. Because I will tell you, because I've been doing the tincture thing and I'm swearing by it, but I think this is the third different kind that I had. And I tried a few. And this is the one where I'm like, yes, this is it. Like, it does exactly what I need. You know, it calms me. So if I got stress, I do a little bit of that, and it kind of like mellows me out. Or if I got somebody riding my ass, which I do, I feel like 24/7, 365.
Your ass must be tired.
Oh, it's so tired. So tired. So you do a little bit of that, and you can take all the ass riding a little bit easier, and you don't freaking lose your marbles and flip out on somebody. And so that helps. And then the sleep, it's been great. In fact, I got to tell you honestly, it's kind of like my new favorite hobby. I really just love on the weekend. I sleep probably 9 to 10 hours Friday and Saturday night.
Wow.
Yeah. Probably. And
You are a different human.
I am. And it's just, I was never able to get that. I get maybe, 6, 7 again on the weekend, but getting that 10, I feel so much better.
It's a miracle drug. Sleep is a miracle drug, and whatever you got to take to get you there,
Yeah.
do it.
And so I'm loving that. And I'm kind of addicted to it because you feel so great when you're rested.
Yes.
That to me, it's better than you feel from even doing weed or doing booze or anything like that. There's not a better feeling in my life right now than just, oh my gosh, I'm fully rested and charged. Like, I feel great.
And you're doing the testosterone too, so that
You're right.
helps.
Yep.
That really does help as well.
It does. I didn't realize that either. But yeah, that because I kind of hit my groove with the tincture and then started the hormone replacement again at the same time. Be like $100, Virginia.
Look at you.
I'm ready to go back out and do dumb things again.
Don't tell me that because I love to do dumb things.
Yeah. So
I
look out.
hear it's a bad idea, and I am in.
And Crystal said, I'd love to know where Kevin gets his tincture from. Denny's. I need help sleeping. Yeah.
It's not a regular place.
Yeah.
You got to go to a regular place if you don't have a Denny's.
Right. And it's just it, and that's all it is. It's going into a regular place. Now, the exact brand, I can get that and let you know
Denny's.
what I found. But I would probably, my guess would be you probably have to try different ones and find what works for you. Because I think a lot of it has to do with your body chemistry. Because there are some days where I will do the tincture. I'm like, well, okay, I'm feeling that. Boy, that hit me good. And then other days where I do it, I'm like, I didn't feel a thing.
Really?
Yeah, it's a weird thing. And it's a measured amount. So I'm doing the same amount every single time. And I just don't know what it is. Maybe I'm tired and I'm feeling it, but I am confusing being tired with the feeling of the tincture. I don't know. Do you ever have that experience? Does it seem like sometimes the same amount, the exact same thing that you do marijuana-wise with the exact same amount can have a different effect on you from day to day?
So with edibles, I can see that. But no, tinctures and the capsules and stuff, I don't. I find them to be pretty consistent.
Yeah, it's a weird thing. And it's not often, but it's every now and then. I'm like, okay, probably about every maybe 10% of the time.
Well, kind of like alcohol, there's sometimes where you'll be drinking and you'll drink 3 or 4 and you're like, man, I'm not even really feeling them tonight for some reason. And then sometimes
Your chemistry,
you'll have 2 and you're like, oh my God, I'm buzzing.
Yeah.
But like marijuana's kind of the same way. Every now and then, if it just depending on how your body, what you ate the day before, how much sleep you got, all that stuff kind of does play a factor.
Yeah.
I mean, you always kind of feel a little bit high from it, but I mean, I've noticed sometimes it can be less than you're normally used to, just depending on your body chemistry that day.
Now, what am I doing if somebody's wanting, because I don't know if it's, if the brand is what's so magical about it or if it's just the amount. Because
that was the one you
suggested
liked.
it. Yes.
Yeah, so the one that you landed on just works, I guess, with your body chemistry, not to keep using that same phrase over and over, but that one works for you because one of the first ones I got you was a different brand.
Right.
And you were like, man, this one's good, but I kind of was used to the other one.
There was one that I think I got from you that I really didn't feel at all. And I'm using whatever the 50 is on the vial. That's where I went to.
And sometimes getting scared with a person who doesn't tend to use the stuff, like if I buy it for somebody, I'll buy weaker or less value,
Right.
just because
That's where
you
I
don't
did-
really have any.
Yeah, I'm like, if I went up in a situation, because I don't really have a lot of downtime to just sit there and be like, oh damn, I took too much. All right, let this ride off.
Yeah, that's what
I don't really ever have that option.
Yeah, I don't
where
want
I'm
that
not
to
having
happen
to
to
run
you.
somewhere. Yeah, so I'm going under what I think. Like I'm not going to go. Well, I'm gonna double it up, see how that works.
Yeah, exactly. But the one you
Yeah.
have, I think that one works. So no real reason to change it or alter it. But yours, the one that you like, is from Grow Healthy.
Okay.
And-
And does it have a dosage or a name to it or anything like that you can remember?
It's kind of tough. I think that one that you do is funny enough, is actually on the stronger end. I think you just found a good ratio of doing it to where it's not too much for you. Because I think the other
Right.
one I got for you was weaker. Was maybe like 5-1, where it'd be half of the amount of THC to the CBD or the liquid in there.
Gotcha,
So it's kind of
okay.
like a little bit weaker. And maybe that was just on a side to try to make sure you don't get too high or something. But
So that's how they dial those up, is by ratios. You get a 5-1 or a 2-1
yeah,
or something
exactly.
like that. Okay.
Depending on how much THC you want in there versus CBD, because you can get where it'll be all CBD, 0 THC, and then you can get some
Okay.
that are all THC, 0 CBD. I mean,
And
so
that's
you have
so.
the whole
What number is
spectrum.
first? Is that THC or CBD when you're
So
talking a
it's-
5-1?
So if you were doing like a 10-0, that would be all THC, 0 CBD.
Okay.
So, I mean, you could always go 5-5. That'd be half and half.
Okay.
Some of them are a half dose of THC and a full dose of CBD.
Okay.
So
Wow. So there's a lot of things you could play if you're trying to find what's best for you, and you may have. For different ones, you may find one that if you're chilling on a Friday night and want to play video games,
They'd
you
be
might take
different.
that over taking the one that you would take to just get sleep.
Yes.
Okay.
And with the tinctures and stuff, so if you're just doing the flower and stuff, I mean, they do have ratios for those, but I mean, I feel like those just hit you differently when you inhale it compared to eating it
Yeah.
or drinking it
Right.
or whatever.
I'm sure it is different.
But the tinctures, they have the most swing in them because they're put together by somebody. They're
Mm-hmm.
taking certain parts of.
So it's about, I always hear, well, this was the thing when it came to hormone replacement stuff and doing testosterone, Virginia. The people I used to get it from back in the day, they said it's all about the chef.
Yeah, I mean,
Anything
it's
made in
just
the lab, and they said there's some pharmacies that make up really good batches, and others where it's weak, and you're not going to see the effects of it. Is it that way? Do you think?
for sure. And also, I mean, a lot of the dispensary stuff's gonna be high quality, so it's more so just do you like the concoction the guy made or the person made.
Okay.
Some places, like you found the one that you like to Grow Healthy. That one's just that's how they make theirs.
Yeah.
Maybe the one from True Leaf isn't.
That's
what
why
you're
you
looking
probably
for.
should really shop around, try, see how your body feels, and then you'll finally land on what ones you like.
So when you first get your card, any place you go to is going to give you a first-time buyer's discount. I would use that first-time buyer's discount. It's going to be somewhere around like 60% off your order.
Mm-hmm.
I would use that to buy a couple different styles and see which one you like.
Good place
It's-
to, yeah.
And then anytime there's a buy one, get one, I'll always buy one that I know for a fact, and then I buy a new one that I've never had
To
before.
experiment, okay.
Yeah, and then you spike it
Smart.
in, you're like, this one's horrible, and I won't buy it again.
But you
know?
didn't really feel like you wasted
Yeah,
money
because
and
it's a buy
stuff.
one, get one,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So those are always when I use that. I use that time for those.
Yeah.
Because even I pretty much know exactly what I like, but some people like that really sleepy feeling they get from. I personally would prefer not to be sleepy.
Yeah,
So-
that's why if I ever stepped in the world, like right now, I'm using it functionally. Because
Yes.
sleep is really the only reason I'm using it, and to try to not flip out and have, anger issues.
Yeah.
So that I think serves differently than if I were, okay, I want to hang out and play video games.
You want to get
and-
off work, chill,
Yeah.
watch TV, and feel an effect of something for
Right.
a while before you go to bed. Then I would do something different.
Because if I do that tincture, I'm ready to go to bed, Virginia. I'm like,
10 minutes into a movie, you'll be out.
yeah, right. Now, Penelope said if you go to the dispensary, they will sit down and they'll answer those questions. So you don't have to have Denny's or bother him. You can actually go in, get your medical card. They'll sit down and they'll go over everything with you and kind of guide you through it.
So first-time buyers, you get at every dispensary you go to. So if you go to just using examples, if you go to True Leaf, you'll get it there. Then next week, go to Grow Healthy, and you'll get the discount again there. Each place has an incentive to get you to go into their place. I would go to each place and try 3 different varieties of whatever they have.
Oh, yeah.
Of whatever you're into. If you're into tinctures, buy 3 different tinctures. I buy an extremely high THC one, a low THC one, and one in the middle. Because sometimes, funny enough, I almost prefer the high THC in smaller doses than I do larger doses of low THC.
Interesting.
It gives you a little bit different of effect. I find
Okay.
that the higher THC in a smaller dose is a better effect. So
Huh.
that's what I like. But I mean, you can easily, even you can break your own rules every now and then and kind of feel it a little too much.
But then how do you then gauge it? Because somebody was saying, oh my gosh, if I did to the 50, which is the line that it has on, my little droplet, I wouldn't feel anything. But that could vary then depending upon what you have. Where 50 may knock your.
That's you just got to see what you got, because 50 of a low THC is going to be like nothing, but 50 of a high THC might be a really large dose. It might be a double dose.
Okay.
Yeah, you kind of. I would definitely talk to him, but I mean, once you start, not to use the term chronic, but once you use it for a while, you start getting, just like everything, you get kind of used to it.
Yeah.
And then it doesn't really have that wild swing that it would.
So then you gotta maybe
Even if you overdose slightly, you're not necessarily going to feel it if you're used to it.
you're not incapacitated. Basically.
Totally. If you've never done it before and you do a large dose, I mean, you are going to think
which
something's wrong.
That's the horror of it, because I just remember that one time I got so high when we were all in Portland, Virginia.
I remember I was there.
And I was the point where I got to. You guys didn't even see it because I went back to the hotel. I'm like, holy shit, I am so high. I'm so thankful no one had to see me. But if I had to function around people or talk, people are like, this dude is massively high. And is that part of it where you're high, you think everyone thinks that you're high and they know for
Yes.
sure?
Yeah.
And paranoia.
Yeah, see, sometimes with the flour, even though they've gotten really good at making the flour pretty specific, if it's a strain that could cause you to be slightly anxious, irritable, maybe high, maybe it just vibes with you in that manner, then you could feel like that.
Wow, okay. So this is a whole exploratory game. Like if you go into this and you like it and you're liking the effects, which I do, I would be, okay, let me go to the second level of my journey now and maybe start finding some recreational things and, adventure out because I got my staple that I know I love.
Totally, and they're subtle, and you can preferences change. Think about alcohol; like they all more or less do the exact same thing, but they are subtly different from each other.
True,
like tequila is different from whiskey, which is different from drinking beer or wine or champagne. They're all the same.
As you get older, you feel like I feel every alcohol. You could have where I would have the alcohol, Virginia, and I could tell you the next morning if I had a little too much what I drank.
Right, just by how you feel.
Yeah. I'd be like, oh, that was too much tequila or too much
vodka, any of the above. Yeah, some of them just agree better with you. I mean, it's kind of the same thing. You kind of just, a lot of people just experimented in college and threw up a bunch when it didn't really matter. But, but yeah, you find what you like. I mean, I'm pretty dialed in to what I buy. I rarely ever deviate unless there's a sale or something, or I want to try something new. Or like Wiz Khalifa comes out with a new strain or something. You want to check it out. But aside from that, I pretty much buy the same thing almost every
Ironically,
week.
that's who got Kevin's so blasted. Wiz Khalifa's DJ.
I remember when his strains dropped, everyone was hyped. They were running sales and stuff. I think I got some swag too if you're like within the first 150 people to buy. So it's pretty cool though. A lot of the celebrities are getting into the game, kind of like the alcohol. Just like people are buying,
That's smart. Yeah, I mean, why
vodka.
not?
So smart.
Yeah, well, I mean, if they have something, and these blends are all so different, and you almost want to know what it'd be like to hang out with a certain celebrity. It probably gives you a feel like, okay, if they like this feeling and this is what they do, it's because you're not realistically ever going to get high with that celebrity, but it's probably the next best thing.
It is kind of cool, getting like a Snoop weed or like Wiz Khalifa weed, because they clearly sat down with these guys, smoked a bunch of it, and were like, all right, this one's cool, this one,
This would be approved. So if I were hanging with Snoop, he would give me this stuff, be like, oh yeah, you got to try, it's my favorite.
Like, well, yeah, if he's putting his name on it, I'm sure he thinks highly of it, right?
Yeah.
So,
right.
And they all do produce slightly different effects. So
yeah, it's cool. It's going to be interesting to see the game and where it winds up going, because it feels like it's not even started to take off where it will. And I guess they're trying to get it back on the ballot. And anytime you do these measures, I guess it's a lot of the underlying, because anytime you see a bill, they put so much crap in it. It's never what the surface line is. Like recreational marijuana in Florida. And you're like, well, okay, yeah, let's do that.
But if it's on the bill with something controversial, even more controversial than that, and that gets downvoted, then that one gets knocked off too, unless they resubmit it.
You had some people I was talking to that they were into recreational marijuana in Florida, but not based on what was in that bill.
Yeah,
that we had last. I was like, oh, okay.
Well, yeah, because they make it like so it's shady.
Right.
It's
yeah.
not just cut and dry, and it is what it says it is.
They're
They
worried
said
it's going to hurt the big business. It's going to hurt the small business. It's like
Yeah, they said
it
you got to
favors
kill
more.
this one because you can't let this through, or this is going to be bad for the consumer. So you have to kill this one, and then hopefully they'll retool it and be like, okay, we want to get this passed because of how much money it has potentially to make for the state of Florida.
Part of me wonders if they do it intentionally, make 3 or 4 confusing bills intentionally,
Yeah.
so that people get so confused by the 5th time they put it on, nobody cares. Or the older people are like, I'm not even dealing with this one now because it's so confusing the last few rounds. You wonder if they do that intentionally.
Maybe there might be a strategy to it. The first bill they draw up, they know is going to get crushed, but they do it anyway because
They make it confusing 3 or 4 times in a row so that in the future people just are like, I'm too confused to even worry about that one.
It's
intentionally trying
exhausting.
to block it. You
It's
know?
so exhausting. though.
I think they do that with a lot of different bills.
yeah, weird. But the only problem I would see with that, you would think like if somebody, for instance, who's just kind of on the fence about it and they see it on their ballot for the 3rd time, they're like, screw it, well, it's never going to pass. I'm just going to hit no now instead of yes.
it's. I think it's a tactic to just turn people off from it as well.
Yeah,
Wow.
they must be trying to bring it back because when we went to Orlando last week, we were at the Kia Center there and where they play basketball. There was people, or one person at least, trying to sign people up for Florida's recreational. I'm like, okay, so this is coming back.
Yeah, they'll submit it every year.
Okay, so I guess every 2 years we'll probably have that on the ballot in some different form.
Yeah, you'll get hit up in the parking lots, leaving like Walmart and stuff. They
Okay.
they hang out there too a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's cool. I think it'd be good. It'd be an extra revenue source for Florida, but at the same time, I mean, medical is also making a pretty good amount of money as well.
Right.
So I mean,
Yeah.
maybe some of these companies want to keep it.
And everybody qualifies
Privatized.
for medical because all you have to do is go in there and say you're stressed or you have anxiety, and bam, you qualify.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I am surprised at some of the people I'd never think would have their card.
It
So-
kind of changed though. It used to be very strict, and then I think when COVID happened and then telehealth got big, it kind of moved to telehealth, and I think that really did loosen a lot of the. Because
Well,
I remember I'd have to go in for my. Now you can do a lot of it through the
To
phone.
me, I mean, I'm really using it as a medical product.
well, yeah.
It's not a recreational yeehaw.
It's your preferred sleeping pill.
right. It is. Yeah. It's a
Better, way better than doing some of the sleeping pills that are on the market.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
Yeah,
completely
technically,
for health.
alcohol should be a prescription too. It just isn't. You
Yeah.
know, it's still a drug that provides effect way more than like caffeine.
Yeah, I think back in the day, didn't they have
They
elixirs?
did. They
and-
had. It used to be prescribed.
Yeah,
Doctors would prescribe you alcohol, but they were abusing it, like you could imagine.
Because it's awesome.
Yeah, so I
It's
think it caused issues, and they took it off.
so fun to abuse.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, I get it. We had a fun Italian fest on Saturday. Festa Italiana, brand new. Each year, that's the one thing I was telling the crowd at Wellington is each year they just get bigger. So, Jerry starts in a certain area and then, it picks up. And then people who went loved it. They come back and then each year more and more people come out. So I imagine in 5-10 years, that thing's going to be just packed.
Yeah, that's a fun venue. That Wellington Amphitheater, they really did a great job with making that thing festival friendly.
So we were up there, did a pizza eating contest, which was a lot of fun to see that go down. And one of our competitors that we had afterwards, I was talking to him, and he's a charter boat captain. He goes out, he takes out like dive tours and stuff like that.
Nice.
And, I'm not well steeped in aquatical knowledge, but I kind of started talking to him because, I do the paddle boarding, and we went out one day, and the winds were at 15 miles an hour, and I just told myself, I'm like, it's not even worth it. Because you are just fighting so much that
Right.
it wasn't even enjoyable. I'm like, oh my gosh, I just get my ass kicked out there. And he said, yeah, it's we have rules. Basically, it's about like 10, I guess, knots. If it's anything above that, I just like, yeah, we're not going to bother. Because if you're like doing a dive or you're snorkeling, it'll just move you so fast. And he said with the boat too. And I didn't realize. Did you know that South Florida has the 3rd largest reef in the world? Like, it's a Great Barrier Reef, and then the one right off the breakers is the 3rd biggest in the world.
The 3rd biggest.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, we've snorkeled there and looked at that reef. It's fun.
I have as well.
Yeah, and he said, look, it's all about West Palm, too. West Palm is the place to do this because how the reef goes, it is the closest right there pretty much at the breakers than it is anywhere else, because the reef, as it goes up the coast of Florida, like if you go to Jacksonville, I think you said it was like maybe the reef is like 30 miles out. So in here, you can basically see it from the shore.
So it curves out slowly to
Yeah.
the east as you go north.
Because he said, well, look at Florida. And when you get to up even to Jupiter, where you are, Virginia, the state of Florida is curving east, but the reef is still staying on the same line. So at Jupiter, you have to go further out into the water to get to the reef.
Fascinating.
I know. I was like, I did not know all that kind of stuff.
Right here.
Yeah, he was teaching me about the Gulf Stream and how that goes and
And now you guys are dating?
ebbs and flows. Yeah, I was drinking it all in.
Kevin is loving this guy.
I was, because I didn't know anything about it. He was talking about the winds and just all this stuff.
I got scuba certified here in. There used to be a dive shop right off of Palm Beach Lakes, it was right off of North Lake Boulevard. It had a pool that was super deep,
Oh, nice.
and now it's closed down. It's right off of the I-95 exit. I don't know what it is now, but I don't know what they did with that space. But that's where I got certified.
They put a TV station there for a while.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
That's cool. But it used to have a 30-foot pool that was the size of a hot tub. It was made for just going down with your gear on, and then you have to do a couple tests.
Right.
And then you have to go out into the ocean and do 2 more tests to get certified.
Kevin, you should ask your new boyfriend if he'll take you out there.
Yeah, I am not doing the. I had thought about that. I remember when I first got to town, I was going to do the scuba certified. So I'm like, how awesome would that be? I'm in Florida now. Let's do this. And then somebody called in and let me know all about the bends.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I don't think
Decompression
you're-
sickness.
You're not going to go that
Yeah.
deep, though, Kev.
It gets worse as you go deep, but if you don't go that deep, sometimes you don't even really have to decompress if you don't go that deep.
Oh, so somebody, I mean, I still remember, it was like 25 years ago. I got this call and it's still stuck with me. They talked about the bends. They said it's like the most painful way to die. I guess some people might die from it. I was like, what? And they said it's excruciatingly painful. And then they said in one person, they have to put you in this kind of like it's oxygen or something like that. And they said the person went in there and they didn't realize they had their phone or something like that. And someone called them and a spark came off and they burnt to a crisp.
Oh, my God.
Oh, my
inside of the
gosh.
thing. And I'm like, Remy said, hyperbolic chamber. I'm like, fuck that. I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I am not doing anything that, that killed any desire I ever had to scuba dive. I'm like, nah, that's all right. We
can snorkel.
My screensaver it's great. It comes up on my
Fish.
computer and it's got fish. And I'm like, I feel like I get all the joys of going that far deep without having to actually go in and risk the bends.
Well, so I guess when you breathe, your bloodstream will absorb, oxygen or whatever. And when you're scuba diving, I guess the majority of it's nitrogen. So your body's absorbing it. That's why you have to come up slow. So
Okay.
I guess the way you die from that is air bubbles go into your bloodstream and they slowly come out of your
Yes.
ventricles. And,
That's what they're saying.
and you
It's
get little
so
bubbles
painful.
under your skin.
Yeah,
Oh
like
my
your skin is
gosh.
bubbling,
yeah.
and you're just like, and it's apparently horribly painful.
Oh, I mean, it sounds like it would be.
Excruciating.
I know, it's pretty terrifying, but I mean, I think only in the most extreme cases. If you go
Probably,
super
I'm
deep.
sure, but that person, that call stuck with me. It scared the shit out of me. I'm like, I'm never doing that in my life. I'm like, nope. Doug said, you guys were talking about the hot dog girls, hot dog cart girls, around in the late 80s, early 90s. Used to have some things, and that was my question, saying, okay, why did they go away? And if somebody brought that back, would that actually do well? Or are we to the point where, like, this was in the 80s when Hooters were thriving and restaurants, and you're like, ooh, boobs. But he said, while at the traffic department, our guys went out of their way to support these businesses. I remember them very well. Plus, in the old strip club, English pub on Military across from the airport, they had a mural across the side wall of Commissioner Karen Marcus as a hot dog girl. Oh, wow. I think she's running for mayor of West Palm. That's
really?
crazy. The fad just seemed to die out. Do not know why. Wow, that would be amazing. So would that, if that is true, and I'm thinking of the right person, would that help or hurt Karen Marcus to say, I used to be a hot dog cart girl as she's running for mayor?
I'd vote.
Yeah, I mean,
It would, I'd remember.
I feel like that would help.
I think it would help with me. Yeah, I have to see if that is who I'm thinking of that's running for mayor. That'd be something.
Out west in Colorado, they had a bikini coffee place. that was like not even, it was when I was out there. So I mean, we're talking 10 years ago now. But.
Right, they've done some, and that's, I guess, ultimately my question. Are we just past that? Because now you can get anything you want on your phone. I mean, is that something where the era of, if you wanted to see boobs, you had to have a hot dog cart girl? People now would be like, yeah, I'm not impressed. I mean, you can go to the beach and people were wearing the same thing. So why do I care about getting a hot dog?
Bert and I were discussing old movies, how they used to always have gratuitous sex scenes or gratuitous nudity. And
right.
I think it was just because there was no internet. If you wanted a magazine, you'd have to go and get it. There's a lot of shame. Or,
it was work.
It was work. So they put them in movies, and that's kind of how you'd watch Under Siege because you want to see some taters. But like,
Taters.
but nowadays, it's pointless. Now, sex scenes are almost like the worst in movies. You know, like the last thing I want in a movie is a sex scene.
I agree.
Yeah.
They ruined the flow.
I totally agree.
Yeah,
I think it's just outdated.
Yeah, especially the ones that go on too long, because you're sitting there, even like sometimes you can be with your spouse and you'd be like, okay, all right.
Already.
Yeah.
You just like, and it's 4 minutes long, and you just go, all right, can we move this along?
If I want to watch porn, there's about 800 sites I can go do that.
Yeah, I think it's just an old concept. They just don't need it anymore.
You're right.
So that's kind of my thought is I think it would not work. I don't think people would care, and they're like, okay, we know two things. One, we got other places we can go to see boobs, and two, hot dogs are gross.
Oh,
we now know how, I mean, in the 80s, I don't think we were fully aware yet just how gross hot dogs were.
Yeah, both of those seem to have taken a hit.
Yeah. So, I don't think it'd be nearly as effective today.
I feel like everywhere you went in the 80s had hot dogs or hamburgers. It was, you could get those
definitely.
any place you go.
Everybody ate those.
Yeah.
Now we ask more. We're more elevated with our intake.
I kind of feel that, yeah. And Abigail making a statement about one of the Am I the Jerk emails that we got today. Couple went through and we agreed at the end that they really didn't handle it right because his steak was not cooked to the right level and he got the wrong vegetable, and they let the server know, and she's like, oh, I'm sorry, but then she just walked off and like, hey. And so I guess the husband was a little bit perturbed. He's like, you know what? He's like, we always tip 20%, but I feel like she deserves a 0 for my meal, that I didn't get what I paid for, and you can tip your 10%. We're going to only give her 10%. And Abigail said, I would not have left a tip at all. The customer is not responsible to teach a server how to serve. That's on management. And this, I think, is this kind of sentiment is what was behind that bill they're talking about here in Florida, where they're going to get rid of the automatic tipping thing, where you go in and it's standard that you give 20%. They've done that at some restaurants. I know, I think it's Waterway Cafe that has done that in
it's
Palm Beach
standard,
Gardens.
yeah.
I think so, yeah. There's some places. And I think this bill would knock that down because people like Abigail are like, no, this tip, I am happy to tip, but if you have done something like that and I had a terrible experience and you could have helped it, then why would I give you 20%? That's like saying without even running the race that you've performed well. Like you gotta
getting
sing
the reward on the front.
Yeah. So it would encourage you to be like, well, I'm getting 20% either way, so why put in
Why
extra
give
effort?
good service?
Yeah. So that, I think, is for people that feel that way, I think that's what that bill is about.
Gosh, I hate those when you feel obligated to tip. And some of them,
Oh, it's the
I
worst.
came across one that didn't have a no tip. Like you have to request it.
Wow.
And you're not going to, so you click the lowest one, but it's still 15%. And you go, 15% for me coming in and grabbing this myself. I didn't even order it to my house.
Yeah, no, I had that too. It's like, places I go and I hand them. In fact, I went to a place where I got things out of a cooler, gave it to them, and they put it in a bag for me, and then they flipped the thing around, and I could have tipped up to 25%, a quarter of my order. And, they're 2 feet away from me, if that, on the other side of the thing. And I got to turn around and be like, no tip. And I never make eye contact. I just said no tip. I grab my stuff, keep my head down, I walk out.
I feel like everyone's busy until you're about to press the tip button, and then they all just stop and look at you.
That's when they really get attentive and pay attention to you.
And you kind of like cover it a little bit. You're like, oh, press
Yep.
it and try to get out of there.
Which button did he press?
Gosh,
Yeah.
I hate it. I just tip everyone so I don't have to deal with it. It really has come down to I don't feel like dealing with this. I'm just going to tip you enough to keep you from saying anything.
Right. Okay, so a couple of polls that we got here. Would bikini cart girls work today? 56% of people said yes.
Okay.
Okay. If you were doing a business venture, though, do you feel good enough about those numbers? To me, I want an 80-20, be like, this is a slam dunk. We got to do this.
It's Two, it's going to be, you need a permit, I think, right? Like,
I
are
would
those
imagine
hard
you
to
would,
get?
yeah.
What are the stipulations of getting it?
Yeah, I would imagine you'd have to kind of do that stuff. And then the other poll we have is about the No Name Movie Game from Friday. And here is the audio of the clue that is in question about using the word line for the movie Borderline.
It's a Madonna song, one of her first songs. It's the line between
Like a virgin?
the U.S. and Mexico is called a what?
Borderline.
Yes.
So it's
Okay.
tricky because I looked it up. Borderline is a single word.
Right.
Yeah.
And
not a
line is a
hyphenated,
separate
you know?
word. It would be like you couldn't say fish for the clue catfish.
Yeah. It's tricky because, I mean, it is a word in there, but it's not, it isn't a hyphenated word. So, I
Yeah.
mean, borderline is a different word, I'd say, than line.
I know. I kind of feel like we might get into trouble with catfish type clues.
Because there's going to be plenty more like that.
They do pop up every now and then.
Then maybe we got to let this slide and say, yeah.
If it was a hyphenated word, because I looked it up a few different
Right.
ways. If it was hyphenated, I'd say no. Then it's two different words put together with a hyphen. But it is itself its own word, borderline.
Okay, I don't think we can make that rule. I don't think on this one. Yeah, because I'm nervous thinking about all the different things that could come up. And
Yeah, because I saw this text come in on Friday, and it's just, I felt like it's a different word. Even though it is such a, obviously the same exact word, you know, but it is, borderline is its own word.
Right.
yeah.
It does make it really gray.
Okay. All right. I think we let it ride then. I think it's got to stay as of right now.
But we'll fight about it in the future.
I'm sure.
Yeah. Yeah. And people were saying, yeah, your own rules say you can't use any of the words in the title. But yeah, I guess the argument is borderline is a different word than line.
Right.
Yes. It'd be like if you, like, the word parachute has the word shoot in it, and you use the word shoot to describe something. It's technically not a parachute, but it does contain that word in it.
Yeah, that's true. And it's even, you could say it's different.
You're like, yeah, you could say out the chute is something they say when people are jumping out of a plane. They're using this item, which is
Gosh.
technically a parachute.
All right. Well, we'll have to think about that and figure out how to handle that.
We just broke Kevin's brain.
Yeah.
He's
It's
like,
all-
I don't know.
Well, I'm just trying to think of all the different situations and how you'd use it one way versus the other. So we'll just put it's into consideration right now. So I don't think we'll make a sweeping declaration.
Yeah, it's just tough when it comes up. We'll just have to discuss it like this.
The Supreme Court needs to take a recess.
They do. Yeah.
And they need to consider all the facts.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, well, thank you for all the emails and your comments. You can get them through to us, mail@kvjshow.com. Enjoy your Monday. Bird back with us tomorrow. And don't forget, we've got our Final Four, the best South Florida events. We're going to have that posted this afternoon. You can start voting there on our website at kvjshow.com. Have a great Monday. We'll see you back here tomorrow. Goodbye.